Welcome back. In today's story, we will continue the story of a man trying to sue his brother and expose his family. In case you missed part one of this story, here's how it went down. The writer is embroiled in a legal battle with his 41-year-old brother and his business partners after being mistreated by them during a 2-year stint working for their startup. What began as a summer job, setting up their company's infrastructure, turned into free labor, with the writer taking on multiple roles and receiving minimal pay. When the writer left for grad school, the brothers slandered him, accusing him of sexual harassment and denying he worked for them. Despite trying to make peace, the writer's family, particularly his father, sided with the brother, causing further rifts. Now, the writer's suing his brother and his partners, facing pressure from his father to dur the writer the case. To complicate matters, the writer has sensitive files about his brother's business, documents that could potentially destroy his brother's career. While the writer is considering the consequences, his girlfriend is urging him to take the opportunity to go all in and expose the truth, which leaves the writer torn between family and justice. And she called out of the writer's family for doing this to him. Now, let's get into the final part of the story. What I'm finding out about my brother through my attorney is worse than I ever thought. Not paying me and slandering me was just what I knew about. But now we know there was other stuff, like fraud against me and others that I didn't know about. Serious tax violations also against me and the IRS. And some identity theft, where he used my name on some documents that I clearly didn't sign or even know about. The more they dig, the worse it gets. At some point, it's almost easier to just tell them to stop digging. Let's just go with what we have. I know one thing. I was very lucky I left them when I did. Otherwise, I may have been dragged down with them. Oh, one other thing. My attorney said my brother and his partners closed doors on their business already. They went under. They have filed some puzzling and contradictory responses to our lawsuit, which surprises me because my brother is smarter than that usually. They have now changed attorneys and retained a reputable firm. The first thing the new attorneys did is ask what it would take to settle. My attorney says their new attorneys are smart. They know it will be a bloodbath in court. I guess I will just have to wait and see where it goes from here, but some of you commented from experience that the blowback from legal battles like this tears families apart for decades sometimes. I can see how this can happen and probably will. Every time I think to propose to my girlfriend, something new goes to crap with this whole situation. I would like to propose when things aren't so emotionally charged and when the dust settles a bit. Her sister's in the loop and is very supportive. She knows my family and is not surprised by my dad, but in total shock about my sisters. My girlfriend vents to her dad and he supports her. And he's a good dad. He's never brought this whole lawsuit situation up with me. He'll just make comments to me when he sees me like, "I'm really sorry things are hard for you. Are you okay? Be strong. You can do this," and other stuff like that. But he hasn't directly asked me to fill him in on anything. As far as what I said to my dad, I can't list everything, but here's some of it. I reminded him about cheating on my mom long ago. He didn't think I knew as much as I did. I reminded him how the other woman kicked him to the curb as soon as she found out he didn't have as much money as he pretended to. I told him that it's pretty bad when even that piece of crap lady that slept with you only did it because she thought you had more money than you did. Oh, and I told him it's pathetic that he had paid for sex, but all the money he had wasn't enough to keep that floozy around. I also pointed out how my mom only took him back because he threatened to ruin her financially and take the kids. I told him he's always using his money to buy support from people. I told him that I knew about his DUI 20 years ago when he gave the cops his late brother's name because he had a traffic warrant and was afraid to go to jail, how his brother took the rap for the DUI for him. I said he treated his dead brother like crap with absolutely no respect, and he just went on with his life, like it was no big deal. Then I called him a piece of crap for doing that. I asked him, "What kind of man does that?" I forced him to tell me what kind of man does that. I asked him like 5 times until he said he made a mistake. I chuckled and said, "What did Mom ever see in you?" I told him Mom must have been in pretty desperate financial ruin to agree to marry him. I told him that I was taken advantage of by my brother because I was weak and thought it was because I was too much like Mom. But now I know that I was a weak shell of a man with no conviction because I used to be just like him, except that I didn't have money to buy support for my shortcomings like he does. In response to him telling me that I would find out what it's like to be really alone if I keep up with this lawsuit, I told him I'd never be alone because I'm not him. I can be broke and still have friends and people who love me. And then I pointed out to him that he has not one friend, not one. He only has people who are nice to him because they owe him. I added that he's the one who's alone. I said, "You'll keep all these people tethered to you by doing financial favors, but that doesn't mean they're with you. It just means you're paying them to tolerate you. If you hadn't threatened mom with financial ruin, she would be gone. My sisters would be gone if you hadn't helped them buy a house. Funny how they both still chose to live 300 miles away from you." I said, "Try for once in your life to not use your money to tie people down to you, and watch how fast you find yourself alone. You have nobody, Dad. The people you think are with you just can't afford to buy their way out of your life. Name one person you have a relationship with who doesn't owe you money. You can't. And by the way, buying people to tolerate you is just as bad as being alone." I called him pathetic and a piece of crap a couple more times before I walked away. And so things have finally wrapped up. They signed the settlement agreement, and now it's just a matter of the judge approving it. Apparently, that'll take about 2 more weeks, but the attorneys say it's just a formality, and they're confident it will go through. About the settlement, I can't go into too much detail, but I can say that the settlement is pretty close to what I was suing for in terms of money. My brother and his partners had transferred their houses to their wives' names to protect themselves, but those houses are in the process of being sold to pay off the settlement. The deal also includes a full written apology and admission of guilt from all three defendants. They're required to write apology letters and retractions to the companies that refused to hire me due to their slander. I think there were 4 companies in total. On top of that, all 3 of them had their licenses revoked and won't ever be able to work as financial advisors again in any state. They're also facing a criminal investigation for some forged signatures on deals they made, which could lead to convictions. But from what I hear, probably no jail time. Financially, they're completely ruined, which is what I've always felt they deserved. I know this whole situation is something I regret, and I understand that it's my family. At one point, I was close to them. But looking back now, I think I'm better off without them. As harsh as that sounds, it's just how it is. My parents, though, they're beyond redemption. I can't see any reconciliation happening with them after everything that's gone down. Honestly, I thought I might be open to it once everything's settled, but after the mediation hearings, I just don't think I'll ever be able to. Both my mom and dad testified, and they both lied through their teeth. I wasn't surprised by my dad, but I honestly didn't expect my mom to lie about there being no money or claim that I was making everything up. It was a verbal agreement. I'd work for my brother's company in exchange for room and board at my parents' house. My dad had been paying me in cash for the work I did. Yet my mom went on the stand and lied, claiming she'd seen me refuse payments from my brother countless times. She lied about so many things that hurt, all while I just sat there, trying to take it in. She never once looked at me. When my mom testified, she left the room crying. I wasn't shocked she'd testify. The attorney had warned us about it, but I had no idea she'd say such cruel things. I'm sure she doesn't realize the damage she caused. What she did to me, it's unforgivable. I don't know if I'll ever get over this. I don't even know if I ever want to see her again. I don't want to sound like I'm ranting about her, but it's hard not to. She's the only one who's ever had any real issues with me. I've always been the one who never owed my dad anything, the one who still cared, the one who worried about her and kept in touch. But she threw all that away for a lawsuit that she had to know that was a lost cause. Her testimony didn't do anything to help their case. Nothing. It was pointless. We sent Christmas gifts to my sister and their daughters, and we got thank you cards back. But since then, they haven't reached out. The only communication I've gotten is a couple of hello emails from one of them, asking how I'm doing. Not once has she mentioned me or any of the family drama. It's just the polite, distant, hello. How are you? I respond, keeping it civil, saying we're both fine and hoping they're doing okay. But I don't know what to expect anymore. I don't know where any of this is going. It feels like they're too embarrassed to reach out directly, especially without my dad's permission. They'll have to find their own way to approach me. I've been trying not to think about it too much, but it's hard not to. My family has always been tight-knit, and Watching this mess unfold, it's hard to understand why people do this to each other. From the very beginning, I knew my parents were toxic. I wanted to cut ties with them after everything that happened with my older brother, how he tried to ruin my career. Back then, I wished I could just cut them off completely, but I knew that wasn't realistic. I had to hold back when I saw how much stress it was causing me. Now, though, things have gone too far. My mom, what she did, how she handled everything, it's ruined any chance of reconciliation. I'm not saying that out of spite, I just don't see how anything can be fixed after what she did. I'm not sure I can forgive her. I don't even know how to process it. I've been talking to my girlfriend about everything. Everyone's hurt, and it feels like everything exploded at once. I'll recover eventually, but right now, I don't know how long it'll take. I keep expecting myself to break, but I've just been going through the motions, acting like everything's fine when it's not. I know I'm in more pain than I'm showing. I'm not sleeping at all, just lying in bed wide awake. And that's not normal for me. I'm the type who struggles to wake up, not lie awake all night. It's hard to even talk about this. I don't hold grudges, but this feels different. This hurts more than anything else. It's like something has changed inside me, and I'm not sure how to fix it. As for the lawsuit, there's no gag order or privacy clause. Everything that happened will be public, especially since they're going to be facing more lawsuits from clients down the line. The details of this loss will be exposed so they can figure out what they have left to pay. And I have no doubt that my family will be the ones paying the price. And that's the end of this story. What do you guys think of this? Do you have any things to say to the writer? Let me know in the comments section.